So a little bit about my background. My background is chromatography. I have a PhD in chromatography from Virginia Tech, where I worked for this great old man named Harold McNair. And Harold McNair was really one of the founders, one of the icons of modern chromatography. He was the first person in the United States to get a PhD in chromatography. He built the first GC, industrial GC in the United States. He and the Nobel Prize winner, A.J.B. Martin, spent the summer together in Whiting, Indiana, about 20 miles from here, at the Standard Oil refinery, and they built the very first GC in the world. What a weird coincidence is about 45 years later, I would become the lab manager of that very same refinery where that very first GC was built. So I spent 5 years studying chromatography under Professor McNair, doing things like coding GC columns, packing LC columns, designing detectors, building LC pumps. And after 5 years, I took a job with Amoco Corporation. And Amoco back then was a very large petrochemical company, now known as British Petroleum. I think we were number 7 on the Forbes 500 list. So we were a huge company. And I worked for Amoco Corporation, the central corporation, and we had all these subsidiaries. We had an oil company, exploration company, chemical company. We had a biotech company, a solar energy company. In fact, we were the world's largest solar energy company at the time. So I got to develop methods for each of these individual entities, as well as setting up instruments, troubleshooting things, setting up GCs at refineries, and so forth. So I got a lot of great hands-on experience. While I was there at Amoco, I spent 3 years running their environmental group, which was a real eye-opening experience for an analytical chemist, because we would work on what the company would call environmental opportunities. So that means if you spill 6,000 gallons on the side of the road, it's not a problem, but it's an opportunity to make things better. So imagine the complexities of doing environmental analyses, and I got to do lots of that as well. So after 9 years with Amoco, I left and I started my own company called Axion Labs. And Axion is a real hands-on chromatography laboratory. If I'm not up here talking about GC, I'm in my lab, burning my fingers in the injection port just like the rest of you. So I am a practical hands-on chromatographer. I'm not a theoretician, I'm not a professor, but I do HPLC and GC for a living. I also teach a lot of HPLC and GC classes. I taught my very first class for the American Chemical Society in 1984. Okay, that's before most of you were born, right? So I started teaching in 1984. In 1991, I had the honor of becoming the national instructor for the American Chemical Society. It's a position I still hold today. So anytime there's a national meeting, they'll have me there teaching one of their classes. We also write and teach classes for a bunch of other entities. So this is the place where people come to learn chromatography. This is where we take this complex concept of chromatography and make it really simple, and where we give you the skills you need to go home and apply them to your actual job. So come visit us here at Axion and prove it to yourself.